Bonjour, vous m'entendez? Oui. Bonjour, merci d'être venu. Thank you very much to come so numerous this afternoon for the talk about Portugal. Portugal, since something like 15 years, evokes for French, for example, a kind of a new destination for cultural tourism. Concerning design, it means that the country became renowned for things very particular, more manufacturers and designers. It's not normal, but we have to find why there is some international designers who are choose to settle in Portugal. For example, Emmanuel Babled, Philippe Stark, Noé Duchaufour-Lawrence. There are a few of them who have choose to live and to work in Portugal. And we are received today three different Portuguese entities, to use a word a little bit like that. Joana Astolfi, who is architect, designers, and also artist. So she is a protein-form creature who has different universe, and you will see how she will give us a feeling of what design means in Portugal. We have also the duo half French, half Portuguese of Oitoemponto with a French accent. Artur Miranda, who was in another life, another kind of creature in fashion, and he has made the link very contemporary between fashion and design now. So there is a studio based in Porto who is keen on doing some private homes as well as a big hotel like recently in Porto. And the name shows how the field in design is in Portugal because the name is monumental. Artur Miranda and Jacques Beck, who is French. I say that like a detail, but it's important. And last but not the least, as we used to say, Amândio, not Armando, Amândio Pereira, who is the head of Covet House, who you can see a beautiful and opulent stand here at the Maison Objet. Covet House is a reunion of different Portuguese brands. He has been himself trained as a designer, so he knows very well the part. And he's also an entrepreneur. And all of them, they will show you this different aspect of design in Portugal. At first, we will start to know if it's Portugal really an Eldorado for architecture, design and craft. Eldorado, of course, is a word a little bit strong. But we will see why these designers used to settle there, why, in what way design in Portugal is very dynamic. And we will start to talk about material. Is Portugal Eldorado for material? First thing, I will ask the Oitoemponto duo about these images, because it's like a big wave of marble. And when we are used to work, to use marble in Portugal, do you feel that you are in the good place for that, as if it was easy to find very good marbles in Portugal and doesn't need to go to Carrara, for example?
Hello. It's true that we have a strong tradition in marble. Marble is something that is part of our country. We even have a lot of marble that is no longer available. It was...
Keep your
yes,
micro close to the
more
mouth.
near to the mouth.
As an ice cream.
Yes. Effectively, marble is part of the Portuguese tradition. You can see it in all monuments. You can see it in all houses. So, you know that Portugal is a very old country. Everybody knows it. We were everywhere in the world. So the marble idea, it's something that started already in the 12th century. And of course, that heritage becomes that we use it a lot, but it's just keeping on with the DNA of the country.
Yeah, because in the time we used to, with all the colonies of Portugal, we used to bring back marble from all over the world, Brazil and Africa, and so on. And nowadays we have effectively really good marbles, but they are always very simple. And very good qualities. And the price range is always nice. So we have lots of granites with a lot of shade of granites and all very simple. You mean very simple marbles, but
less textured,
very effective marbles.
Yes.
it's not only marble, it's also wood. I have to ask Amândio Pereira about wood, because on your booth here at Maison Objet, the booth of Covet House, we have the feeling that there's a kind of natural opulence, as if you can have some very precious woods on the walls, some marble on the floor, as if it was something with like generous as a Portuguese dessert.
Yes, thank you, and welcome to the conference. Look, I think what Oitoemponto is saying is, even if it's not the country where the material is there, I think how people wish since past centuries bring always exquisite luxury materials. Yes, Portugal learned how to import also these materials. We have natural materials from our country, like cork and some wood, but exquisite veneers always came from Brazil, Africa, and again, is our people that did something really good in the past. Yes. We should keep it to the future.
Yes, and we always keep the good relationship with all the ancient colonies. That's very particular to Portugal, because the colonies are always in good relationships. So we came from Africa, from Mozambique, Brazil. So there were always this proximity, and we always use pop palissandre in the 18th century in Portugal. So it's part of the DNA of the Portugal to have all this richness and
there is also a material we have not to forget is the cork. Yes, especially black cork is used for isolation. Yes. And there is a designer called named Tony Grillo, who has worked a lot with cork and developed a brand. Okay. Is it something an image we have from outside, or it's in a reality in Portugal, the use of cork for design?
We use cork mainly for isolation, it's true, and for the typical wine producing. Nowadays, you are doing so much thing with cork, because you can do nearly paper sheets out of cork. Carpeting.
We are doing new ways to using cork.
Clothes, walls, whatever.
Yes. Wallpaper.
Yes. Wallpaper.
With gold.
So.
And in front of this bathroom, avec still the same opulence with
you have
marble.
Some Portuguese marble there actually on the floor. It's Extremoz, one of the nicest Portuguese marble.
The name of this marble
Extremoz. Extremoz is the name of Extremoz. It's the name of a city.
It's the center of Portugal in the inside, yes. And they used to have the summer residence of the king in Portugal, and it's really beautiful because all the castle is in Extremoz marble, and it's very resistant and it's still beautiful. So
we can see this kind of use of material in a very spontaneous and generous way in all castle, like in a Sintra or a place like that, as if there's no borders to fantasy, to imagination. It's different than the French styles with all the rules inherited from the past, as if perhaps we will talk about that later, as if in Portugal taste there's already this habit to mix things without the classical bourgeois separation, even if it's a bourgeois taste.
Yes. You're talking about, the problem, as I told you, is the heritage. We can't help that we were out on the very beginning of the 15th century. So, of course, we like luxury. We were on the Silk Road. We were bringing back, spices or gold. We had, all the veneers, the marbles. We were out in boats going around. We didn't know where we should land. Because the first time when we arrived to Brazil, we were actually on the way to India. So it's quite a large difference in between. Yeah, but it's just the Portuguese way.
This is a real particularity that Portugal came from this time, the curiosity. Yes. And because they were not in real good relationship with Spain, so you can imagine the Portugal where it is. So if you don't want to talk to Spain, you have the sea in front of you.
Yes.
The curiosity and the travel was always part of the DNA of Portuguese.
Yes.
They wanted to discover, and the curiosity, and it brings you to
not to stay in what we know before, not to stay locked in our in its own culture. Yeah. Portugal as Eldorado for know-how. Is it something what is your reaction when you hear that, me talking like that, like a slogan?
Hello, everyone.
Is it exaggerated or?
For know-how, so here we're relating mostly to, we're talking about craftsmanship, we're talking about making things with your hands, and it goes back to traditions and to customs in Portugal. And yes, I truly believe that in Portugal we have a lot of good materials, like maybe even more in Japan, in Brazil. But in Portugal, the plus is that we have very good handcraft and very good craftsmanship at a very good price still. And this is usually passed from generation to generation. And now these people are getting a bit old. So the new generations are coming in and they're getting curious about working ahead with this craftsmanship, with their hands, with woodworkers, cabinet makers, people working stone and glass. Yes. So it's happening more and more. So I think it's a plus for sure. We have a lot of know-how and we have people that know how to work these materials. With the industries and the prices, this makes it a perfect territory for this boom that is happening.
Also for the price.
Yes, exactly. You always can find in the craftsmanship, because you bring for generation, you have always in the center passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you always see it with the product, the final product. The passion is in the center of all Portugal. They are passionate people.
Yeah.
Amândio, this is a type of know-how you are very familiar with, filigree. One can see some example of that on your booth here at the Maison Objet with a circle around the frame of a mirror. Is it something you have been not only the user for the different brands you have organized, but also to preserve? What could you tell us about what you organized, the kind of structure to preserve?
Inside of all these 15 years we've been around, and when we start, we discovered last year that we really have to pay back to craftsmen in Portugal. We are what we are today because there was a country and there was a lot of people behind us that did the right thing. The mix is important, is travel, and of course every one of us mentioned that already. Travel means you go around and you look always for the best, and someone did the job going around the world, more than was today's 50 countries, bring the best of the best, and of course after you know the best, you don't want less than that. So here is just an example. Filigree was, when we did this was 3 years ago. Now it's kind of trendy. But 3 years ago, nobody once knew this if it wasn't jewelry. This is exactly where I was born and where our company is born, Gondomar. And there's also other cities that push this filigree a lot. And for us, challenge our design team, challenge also our customers and public to come together and understand this kind of piece is really important for us. And last year, we had this big important part to our mission as a group, saying we want to elevate design, but also craftsmanship. And this year we said, let's do this inspiring the world at the same time. We create the foundation.
Is there a possibility that it can disappear if no one cares about that?
While I'm alive, I will fight till the end. This is my baby now. Okay, though. So our company is run by big people, people that has been with us forever. And now this is what we fight. That's why we talk also with Maison, that I thank you and to do this talk. And it's really important. Everyone listen. Today we're gonna, during this year, I think we'll do the summer, we'll do the second summit in Porto that I invite everybody. And I think we'll be ready, the live museum of craftsmanship. And this will be on the Porto tours, is in Gondomar on the limit. Half is Gondomar, half of Porto is a property that we acquired last year. And you will see with your own eyes where most of the people that we work around the world don't believe exist anymore. And it's fun to visit our factories, but when customers arrive there, they understand everything. They understand the price. And I think Portugal has this big fight. We are not a country that are known for creating big luxury brands yet, but we have some quite brands.
We used to talk a little bit more about know-how than designers and design editors.
But again, we didn't, but now with craftsmanship being a main actor, not in our country, but in the world, and on the luxury world, I would say we have a big chance. And And for us, Portuguese, and for people that normally go to Portugal, find sources of people, talent people, even artists. Let's take this opportunity to bring it to the next level. And again, don't hide it for other countries, and help them also keep doing the big luxuries. We know luxury companies, luxury houses are there in Portugal, sourcing for the best.
It's one special thing, for us as Oitoemponto, and we definitely defend that it's not just a question. You have to show, that's probably why Portugal is quite in fashion, is that it's time to finish with that idea of just keep the craftsmanship with original, traditional story. You have to put it in the international market, so you have to show to the people that we can do transversal, international things. This is not a question of doing,
not a traditional,
the Barcelos typical,
of
porcelain, or to do. It's much more than that. If we want to be in a kind of international panorama, you have to do things like everybody does.
So tradition with a new turn, you mean?
Yes.
Transformation.
You take the craftsmanship, you take the tradition, you take the quality, and then you just put it, you compare it with all the rest of the world. We are not supposed to do just, Portuguese dolls. We are supposed to do an international product that will be valuable everywhere.
At the same time, are the craft people you are working with, both of you, do you find them creative? I mean that usually we met some designers said, I have such an extraordinary experience with this craftsman or craftwomen in this project, but it's less frequent, more rare to have the contrary.
You need the production to be able to create the product. It's not just enough to create. You have to pick up the skills of the people that with the materials in the hand, you draw it. But of course, he's going to lead you to probably another way. You design it in a way, and he will find you, the best way how to do it, the most logical, and very often even more commercial. Because it's also an idea of being commercial. It's just not to do, art pieces. We love art. We have a huge art panorama that actually Europe, the world doesn't know enough or recognize. But they are not doing a typical Portuguese story. I think the problem of Portugal during many years, and that's why this is coming out of the shell, is that we are trying to be more international, not trying to be just Portuguese. We are Portuguese doing good things.
It would be reduced. You wanted to add something?
No, I want to just comment on this picture. So this is Victor was our main or our first craftsman that we.
Victor
he's here.
Yes.
He's here. And I'm happy to. I don't know if he's in the room, but maybe he's there.
He's working.
Or, yeah,
he's working.
He could be here. But here is a good example. You're saying that if these people have some creativity skills, this is a good example. We challenged with a design piece that we did maybe 8 years ago, and we asked, this is a master on marquetry, and asked him to do whatever he wants on this piece. And again, there is a really good, important point of view with craftsmanship. Design will always be subjective. You like it, you don't like craftsmanship. There is no such thing. Or it is, the high-end master craftsmanship, or is not. Here, okay, we can talk, I like it, you don't like it, okay, it's your opinion, but we know for sure that it is love, passion, and again, it's a person that maybe in his career never had the chance to express themselves.
Yes, that's what I mean.
And again, with Boca do Lobo,
not to be in the execution,
we
in the execution, because sometimes it happens even in very interesting houses. As you ask the people from the craft, what do you think about this creative part? And sometimes they didn't answer because no one used to.
You will be surprised.
That
look, they know. Look, it's like this. They know the material better than the designer. They know how they react with each other. They have a lot more information. Data is important today. So to create some of this, and again, they've been doing this for a long time, and every time we let them also do their part, we are always surprised. And it's a big challenge for designers. And Tony Grillo is a friend of ours. He was with us in the first summit. And we know that he does that too. And is that love relationship that I think all three here, they do that and let them also express. And then start having this relationship where they ready to listen. and we
huge,
have to be ready to
human
listen
side.
to, and feel proud about it. Not just feel part of the process. And if we do more of this, young people will come. I have a friend here on the room that he says if a barber can be trendy, barbershop or now the cook boys now can be chefs. Maybe these guys can be main actors in the future of Portugal. That one day they were, because if we have the buildings, the palaces, the cities we have, is because one day those guys were big in the country. That's why foundation
A kind of
was born.
recognition, you mean?
And you'll see. And you'll see also something, we will do soon a map of Portugal, and we will see different craftsmanship, different approach, depending the majority and like 90% of the people, materials, and craftsmanship around that city. That means that who is the main actor? Is the design that went around the world trying to find a way, or look at around and see, hey,
locally,
there is the capacity, know-how, material. Let's build a team. This is a very important word, because sometimes these people feel neglected. I don't think today that's the case, but when we were starting 15 years ago, first we were called so many names because we were changing the way, carving wood with lacquer. But now they understand, and now you see this. This is a main artist in Portugal. I don't know. I'm not sure if this is Bordalo, but at least it looks. And we discovered Bordalo is in a region where we can create ceramic.
Very famous for ceramics.
And it was an amazing guy.
creative.
Today would be one of the most amazing creatives in the world.
Joana, living in Lisboa, when you need for a project some craft skill, is it easy to find some workshop who are doing things for a project inside the city, in a urban city? Because in Paris, for example, it has nearly disappeared.
A lot of it has disappeared in the center of Lisbon. So it's more in the peripheries. I go more to Alentejo, in Porto, in the north. There's a lot of artisans working very well, especially with wood. But we have in the center of Lisbon, young generations are starting their little workshops, but the industry is not so much based in the center. So they go also near to the industry, yeah.
We will follow on, is Portugal Eldorado for interior architecture? For example, Joana, here we are in it doesn't look like, but we are in an optical shop. A
boutique shop for eyewear.
And the client for a boutique shop for eyewear, is it the kind you have to push? Or you have, on the contrary, clients who coming to ask you a project, to have something out of the box?
Well, our language has been created over the last 20 years. So that when they come to us, they know exactly more or less the kind of pattern, the kind of language, the kind of visual imaginary world that we're going to be creating. But I love it when a client comes with a story already that he wants to tell. So with a solid brief, it's so good. Sometimes when we start a restaurant or a shop, which is what we mostly do, they don't have yet the full narrative. So we help them to find a concept, because nowadays a space needs to be an experience, a full experience. You can't just look, okay, I'm here to buy glasses, great. But what about the space? What about the lighting? What about the display? How are things displayed? How is the service is also important, but all the visual world is extremely strong. In this case, the client, they had a good visual encyclopedia already, and we had the dialogue was very good. The top part of the shop has 2 stories. The top level is the boutique, and downstairs is the workshop. So they make custom-made glasses for clients. So each client can have their own pair of glasses with their name, with their material that they choose, with all the finishes that they choose. So it's very personalized service.
We have the feeling that you did your best to avoid the feeling that we are downstairs in a kind of Saint-Germain-des-Prés
kind of
cave
like
or something
a cave.
like that. Yes.
Yeah.
As if it was anecdotic that we have the vault with a mineral atmosphere.
Yeah, we worked it. It's a balance between neutrality and warm materials, warm lighting. You always need to have the balance, because if you put too many materials in the palette, you kill the palette. No, so it's always the filtering, the depuration of everything, and then you reach the essence. Yeah. And this shop here, this is a vegan concept shop with a shop and a cafe upstairs. And the beauty of this is that this guy had a very strong story to tell because he wanted to transform a butcher shop into a vegan concept
Which is
store.
quite
Which in
different.
itself is already, I said, I'll do it for sure. This is my kind of thing. So that's what we did. We totally annulled the butcher shop. I mean, I said, let's keep some references because I like
It's like
that kind of...
exorcism.
A little bit of exit. I like that kind of tension between, I love to see what the space already has in terms of characteristics and the truth of the space. But he didn't want to, he said it was too much for the people that are really vegan to have, for example, the butcher thing,
Some
the hooks,
suggestions.
exactly, the hooks.
Not
It was
too
too
much the
much.
same place.
Exactly. So we created a little what you call it, a jungle, a mini jungle inside the shop. We brought in the greens, we brought in the light materiality, the light, the natural light, all the light lamps are done with an artisan in ceramics. So we designed them and she built them. And it was, once again, that process is very beautiful because we go to her workshop, the dialogue is strong, and then I always like to give space for the artisan to create on top of my indications. So I always leave some space for the artisan. I think it's very important.
It is in Lisboa.
It's in the center of Lisbon, yeah, in Duque de
And
Lolé.
I think it's the same in Porto, the fact that even tiny shops now sometimes dare to have a proper decor, like in Paris, in Le Marais area, we have some very tiny shops, but it's crowded. And even in a tiny surface, people wanted to have a decor
Can express
to...
very
Yes.
strong thing in a small space.
Yes.
But it's always very nice to have the person that order
The project to have...
It's you cannot do nice project with a nice
You
people.
just don't need, I always say that you always need Medici people.
The...
Medici families.
the Medici,
you know?
yes.
Actually, it's
Like
not just a
Medici,
question.
yes.
It's just a question of money. It's a question of head. It's a question of information. All this is about ongoing information. Because we will talk about taste. And what's taste? It's more or less information. So we are always talking about information.
Here we are in a more bigger space, but it's as if we ask, do you keep some... do you keep easily some kind of vernacular elements, some elements, that's what we are talking about, who appear a little bit like typically Portuguese, and in the same time you are in 2019 and you are not supposed to reproduce a kind of touristic atmosphere. Even people like it.
Absolutely.
The strangers.
I think that, I mean, Lisbon has so much information, architectural truth to it. It's so difficult to build anything from zero in Lisbon because you have so much to still to refurbish, to rehabilitate.
Is there a place for minimalism, like a white cube, definitive?
Of course.
There is.
Yes, of course, but a
But
large
it
place
has
or
to do
not?
with people, So you'll have maximalists, you'll have minimalists, you have
So
some...
it's diverse.
Yes.
It's diverse, yeah. But it's always important to go to the references. So when you're working a space that already has truth about it in terms of materials, finishes, details, I think it's important to celebrate them and then to bring in the contemporary, like you do also, and bring in the two together and create the dialogue between the two directions. I mean, this story here is not only the architecture, but then creating this backdrop is a 30-meter backdrop wall where Zé Avilés, the chef that ordered this project, he wanted to create a typical Lisbon neighborhood. So in this was a concrete wall. And what we did, me and my team, was to bring in, we went through all of Portugal and all of Portugal, periphery of Lisbon and all different places, finding doors, windows, tiles, all kinds of details that would bring that feel to this space, because this is called Bairro do Avilés, so the neighborhood of Avilés, because of its scale.
At
There's
the
3
end, we have the
restaurants
feeling that you have kept a lot of things, and in fact, it's a lot of things who have been brought, but selected in another place.
Yes, a lot of it has been brought from outside.
As a movie set or the kind of thing.
Almost like a movie set, yes, absolutely.
Here, again, in Oitoemponto project, is it easy, but when you are in a project like this, the fact that you are close to good source of material, but also the work with architects. For example, if you are looking for a special stairs or bespoke, etc., you feel that you are not in small country.
This is the hallway of a winery, and actually, this is a working material. It means that if you want to sell wine, you know that we are known for port wine. Actually, it's the wine that you better know. Then you have the rosé that it was exported to the state and so ever. It was the one of the Vinho Verde. But then one very nice day, people decided that they had very good conditions to do very good wine, red and white wine, and they decided to do wineries that sell also the product. This is a winery made out of concrete in different ways, even from the most modern to the most old-fashioned ways. The concrete done with wood by hand. You have oak on the walls because, of course, it was a kind of evoking the barrels for keeping the wine. But on the floor, we just decided to go to Arraiolos and do something very contemporary, because Arraiolos is a very typical, very known, tapestry not company. It's a tapestry city. It's a city that lives out of tapestry, and we decided to do something more modern, because we usually see Arraiolos with
18th century motifs with flowers, and then we evoke the wine.
The wine about
yes.
the steps.
But then
But
you
it
are
looks
not
like a
afraid.
luxury. I thought it was an interior of a fabulous house.
No.
I
This
was
is
not
entry.
aware that it
It's
was a
entry.
winery.
It's an
better.
entry
Actually,
all
I
of the
have a
winery.
Fashion, but
It
not,
was the
Skin
the
to the
owner
Pesqueiro.
wanted to do a winery with a decor, to invite people to enter and not
it
to have
could be
a
a
production.
interior or something. It doesn't
Yes.
look like a winery.
That is the story, yes. And here we are
We
in the
will follow
taste.
on about taste, because in France we have a long history of styles, and sometimes I have the feeling that even in very modern choices, we still respect some rules we have, which have not been written or voted anywhere by no one, but we still follow on saying this color doesn't go with this color. We cannot use that kind of style in small space, and in fact it's like a conformism, because we have a kind of fear of mistake about taste, because if we make a mistake, it means that we are not belonging to the right group. Is it the same in Portugal?
It's the same everywhere in the world.
Oh.
It's not.
For example, this one looks
this
like
is not taste. This is accumulation.
We always used to say,
patchwork.
we always used to say that our job is nothing about taste. Everybody says that, oh, you have a good taste.
Every decorators, designers used to say that, but as soon as you arrive, I will tell you a story. I have a neighbor who said one day to me that there was some ugly piece of art at home, very kitsch, and I was like that, and she replied, I have an old flat with antiques, and now that I have a new flat, I have to get rid of all the antiques to buy some new. And I ask her, why didn't you mix? And she replies, oh, can I mix?
Yes.
And
But everything
so it
is,
means that,
you can
it
do
doesn't-
whatever you want. It's always a question of proportion. And our job is not, as I told you, it's not about taste, it's about training. Because we are doing this all day long. So we know by heart what is
What is the proportion? Yes.
the proportion, and all the colors are always good, but it's yellow. Everything is yellow. It's a little bit too yellow.
And then the
but
practicing, like the doctor, I think the doctor, he always knows when the patient comes in if he has, he has a problem with the liver, just before he starts to talk.
For example, this Inns chair with a green velvet, is it an idea of...
Yes.
Yes?
You should customize everything.
And
Actually.
that's,
maybe
I
we-
have the feeling that it was not something people can have...
No, but
Why not?
Yes.
But
we,
why
we
not?
have
It's
to-
unusual.
There are no rules.
Shouldn't you turn around the objects, actually? We like to go around the objects, and it's another take. It's another way how to see a classical chair that will have a different allure if you do it in green.
Because there are things very different, which spread some different mood in the same room, but without too much friction.
But it's just a question of heritage. You can't do a thing. You can't project future, even though you can't project your nearest present without a very, very heavy heritage, without past. So this is all about past that is reinterpreted now and tomorrow.
You feel at ease with all the things you can pick up in the culture of the past, even recent one, and all the new things completely innovative.
It's a question of to put the pieces in dialogues.
Yeah.
and they talk together. So if
Everything that is good is good.
That's important. If everything is
together.
good,
Just works together.
it's not a question of price, because you can have expensive pieces with cheap pieces. It's not. If they are good in terms of shapes.
You never think that this thing is too precious to be close to something which is. I have seen a kind of Apple paper box in a very opulent atmosphere. I remember this detail.
But you know what it is actually?
It's an art piece.
It's
It's
a Colombian art piece.
It doesn't look
No,
like.
it was all a conversation that artists had. You know, it's a Colombian artist about traffic, drug traffic.
Okay.
So actually,
To have
during
a
many
sign
years,
in the opulent atmosphere. I have. I will made a parent kind of a small interruption with art. It's not completely our subject, but now at Le Bon Marché in Paris, there is Joana Vasconcelos who has an installation. This is one of a piece made of mirrors, and that kind of mirrors are made with by craftsmen.
yeah. So we can't be more happier than having the best names in art, and artists now always being devoted to how are people doing crazy things with their hands, and in a modern, if you can say that, way. And the most important is the millions of people that saw that on the windows, and Joana Vasconcelos on top of a imaginal dream. I don't know if that awards, topical sculpture. And deep there's a lot of hard work of the people that did with their hands. Actually, the sculpture is really well positioned, and I would invite everyone at Bon Marché. You can touch. You go on the stairs, just touch it carefully. Don't say that was me saying it, but you feel the, again, nice materials, silks or fabrics, and we don't even talk about fabrics here, but a long tradition and north that we can. I think we're just starting, and again, the message is. Not just for the Portuguese designers or artists or interior designers.
In general.
Just come and explore more. Again, that fear about we're going to die, because it will change when people come and start challenging. The artists now that saw these kind of works in galleries, magazines, TV, Maison.
Rue Chavez.
Amazing. Amazing work. That maybe that grandpa now has something to show to their kids, and maybe their kids say, if my grandpa still does something and is on a magazine and he's just not doing work that is not paid enough, maybe I can chase the same dream. And I'm sure that's why on the foundation, we're not just about talking about it. We found this first project culture that we brought here, some stools, because, normally foundations have this political job just to let's talk, bring together organizations. We don't want to do that. We want to, I say to Sarah that's running the foundation, we will do this if we order every day something to the craftsman. That's what we're going to do with the help with all Portuguese.
It was a small interruption with art. And as a conclusion, because we have nothing more than just 6 minutes, in general, for creativity, for example, this project mixed some ceramics with weaving with vegetal fibers. Or this one you know very well because it's Boca de Lobo with typical azuleros, but with a use completely different. Do you feel a gift to be in Portugal when you know that you have some project who you wanted to express yourself in a very freely way?
Yes, I think
we
are.
No, it's
would it
easy.
be the same if you are based in London or in Paris? Of course not, but in what way?
Yes, in Portugal we have a very particularity because in 20 kilometers around Porto you have all the craftsmanship, 56 feet. So, and they know each other. So if you ask something to do to one, they talk to the neighbors, and they are not concurrent, but it's a really big energy that at the end you can do whatever you want because they will find somebody to...
Sometimes they will ask someone else to find the solution.
A chain production with 30 kilometers in between, You know, the train production with 30 kilometers in between? It's
Yeah.
quite a nice image. Because actually, you should take a train. You have to take a train to keep on with the production. But the train is done. Because they just meet the other one, they know, and so
So
30
you say, I
kilometers
want
away.
to mix metal with wood. He will talk
Yes.
to the woodmaker, and they do it together. So it's
Because in France we have the reputation to always say, oh no, it's not possible.
yes.
So it means that
I would want to say that
it's really
they say yes, and I remember when I came in Portugal for 25 years ago, and from Paris, and I want to finishing Canon de Fusil, and everybody was looking at me like this, what that, and 15 days after they find it. How to do it, or even when 25 years ago, I was talking in Paris, there were Christian Lier using Wenge, and I say, I want Wenge. They were looking, wow.
What is that?
They find
No,
it. So
because it was
it's,
not
it's
so
always
known.
very dynamic, and they never say no. So it's very, and they are very,
It's an asset.
we bring our artisans all over the world, in Brazil or in Africa, and they are always pleased to do things, and the pleasure, it's always, always I say that.
You wanted to add something.
Oh no, just saying, these people are used to work as a team. Is a good source for your creativity, if you mean, if you want to say like that. Is you imagine you want to do something. Actually, the beginning of our group is like that. We want to do something, but we are just so young, and some doors were closing. The knowledge was there.
And you did so people
And
to
then we
work
start
with.
hiring people. Today our factory is around 200 people, and today if you don't give them space to do prototyping new products, they're going to be mad with you. Just not our people, but the sources around. I'm sure with Oitoemponto Joana is the same thing. They want to challenge us. Now they want to have fun with what we can call creative people, and we want to have fun with them because they have a lot of knowledge to discover.
I have choose this image because I have the feeling that you are very aware about all the influence sources, all objects to collect antiques to make some project. And in the same time, you have it will be one of the last image. You have set a kind of meeting with people to work on that, as if you wanted to change something in the mentalities around you.
Yeah, for me, this language that we've created, that I've created, about this fusion between architecture and art is very important. It's something that this transversality, as we were speaking before. So I try to always bring in. I mean, my main inspiration is art. And if you ask me, what are you? I would say I'm an artist, even though I studied architecture.
In general.
Yes, but I always felt that this path the art was always my salvation. It was always my inspiration. So I'm a collector since I was born. I'm a voyeur. I'm a voyeuse. I am curious. So objects for me are very important. And every project is a narrative, is a telling of a story. It's storytelling, what we all do here. And so, in this case, this is in Beco, is inside Bairro do Village. This is a cupboard that you go through the cupboard into the restaurant. You don't even know it's a door, but it is a door. And the handle is that leg. You open through the leg, you pull the leg. So these are all objects that tell the story of what you'll see inside, the cabaret. It's a cabaret dinner. So yes, I love to search for objects in flea markets, in old shops, in all my suppliers. And objects are a very important part of the story.
There is another one in the window. We have used some soaps.
Yes, this is for
an example of creativity without.
This is a different story. This is just inspired on the soaps. This is Klaus Porto. They sell cosmetics. They're very well known for their soaps. And this is the first window design that we did for them. And we created a chimney using the soaps, building the structure from the soaps. And the bubbles, the soap bubbles, were made with Marinha Grande, with a glass factory. And we blew the soap bubble, the glass, so the soap bubbles were here where they were shown in glass. So it's the idea of the soap and the bubble.
One other question: when you are working for Hermès, you regularly did some window shop for them in Portugal.
Yes.
Is there something specific when you are working with a French house?
Well, Hermès, we've been working with them for 5 years, so doing all the window displays, 4 per year, 4 seasons. We know them, we have a very close relationship already, and they are very demanding. Hermès is very demanding. One of the biggest challenges is that we push ourselves, in every single season we push ourselves even further. It's very, but the creative liberty is huge. And here we work a lot with artisans. This is not about window, this is about scenography, it's about mise en scène, it's about making people dream.
Always narrative and decor.
Always
as we were talking
narrative.
about.
Yes, yes.
And here, just one thing which was very strange. You talk about meat, and it was fake meat make with wool
Yeah, at the back, you don't see so well.
at the back of the
Yeah.
of the image.
This is to celebrate all the things you can eat at this deli bar, and we celebrated the charcuterie with the crocheted sausages, etc. Yeah,
This is in a museum close to the ocean.
yes.
The problem is that we are short on time. We are
Yes,
at the end.
yes.
Last question: are you optimistic?
Extremely.
You
Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
very
It's
optimistic.
booming everywhere.
Very, it's booming.
It's doing ever, but Portugal has never been in a better moment as now. Portugal now is in
No
the map.
saudade for design.
Well, saudade is always part of us. I mean, that nostalgia is important, impossible to get out.
Amândio, how do you feel?
I feel optimistic since I was born. So I need to continue this dream.
I just ask, all the Portuguese to definitely keep it high. We should
level
always
high.
aim very high.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Joana, Artur, Jacques en français et Amândio. Thank you very much et merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for welcome. So numerous.
Now we need more planes, right?